All right, welcome everybody. I'm Scott Paton. He's Martin Pytela, health coach at lifeenthusiast.com, life-enthusiast.com, and we are here to restore vitality to you and the planet. That's our mission. And we are talking about some of the questions, some of the comments people have made in the group and giving our opinions on it. Hopefully you find it beneficial. I also want to just emphasize one thing too, and that is the group is private. Everything that you put in the group, nobody outside the group can see. So if someone's a member of the group, they can see your post, but your family can't see it. Your coworkers can't see it. Your friends can't see it unless they are members and you've invited them. So we have over 125,000 members. So we take this problem of fibromyalgia very seriously. And the big story that everybody, well, not everybody, but such a huge majority of people say are two things. One is nobody believes me. And two, my doctor gives me a bunch of pills and they don't do any good. And so we are on the functional medicine side. We think, herbs and working on your self-growth and that sort of stuff, getting some exercise, stop digging the hole, are far more effective than taking some chemicals. So with that preamble out of the way, Martin, I want to share with you what one lady in the group wrote, and let's see what we think.
Yeah.
Okay, so she says, my rheumatologist changed my medicine for the third time. Huh. Yeah, because it's not making any difference, I assume.
Or worse.
I'm taking duloxetine and Celebrex. I feel no different than before on the other meds. This is so damn frustrating. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of being in pain with every step I take. Sleeping sucks. Walking sucks more. I've had triple negative breast cancer. Oh, I had triple negative breast cancer in 2022. I had surgery and radiation and chemo pills. Included in chemo was immunotherapy. I swear that is what caused this, put my body through so much stress. So first there was Sjogren's disease, then fibromyalgia on top of osteoarthritis. I'm 52. She's young. I feel older. There has to be something or some things that can make us feel better. I dread going out. I attempted the breast cancer walk and could only do a mile. In 2022, I did that whole walk weeks after I finished IV chemo. This is not me. This has taken life as I knew it away from me. I'm doing my best to fight, but it's been so hard. I know many of you feel the same. I appreciate being allowed to vent. Thank you. Yeah, we feel for you so much.
Yeah, this is a horrendously bad situation in the sense that you have had a metabolic disease. Cancer is a metabolic disease. It was treated as a genetic problem, which it isn't. This triple negative label that they give you, that's almost like saying my house number was 2029. So what? The house was bombed. I don't care what number your house was. It's a bombed house. Well, anyway, the problem that you're dealing with is now the consequences of the medical treatment that you received. Iatrogenic, caused by doctor, illness is rampant. Of the causes of death after heart attack and cancer, the third most common cause of death is medical treatment. Just contemplate that. Now, they didn't kill you. They just gave you a really miserable set of problems. Your problems continue to be metabolic. When you have no energy, that's your mitochondria not converting food into energy efficiently. When you're hurting, that's inflammation. That's caused by metabolic problems. So back to the beginning. The solution is in solving the metabolic function. And there are blocking factors, the factors that block the natural expression of your cells. And these blocking factors, we put them in four categories just so we can think of it in some simplicity. toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma. These are the contributing factors, and they configure in various ways. The medical approach is to treat symptoms. So whatever symptom you come up with, they have a pill for that. Well, you have a polyfactorial problem. The metabolic problem has many, many expressions. And so if you start taking a pill for every single symptoms that you may have, you will have 4, 5, 10, 15 different pills, and the cocktail is just impossible to manage. The only way out of here is to unwind all of that. You need to get rid of the toxicity that's blocking the cells from working correctly. You need to feed them right. So you probably need to change some of the ways how you're putting things together. Food, nutrition. Stagnation is primarily a lymphatic problem, but exercise is required. We humans have to move, otherwise we stagnate. And of course, when you're in pain, that's extra difficult. No joke. And the trauma that got you there, cancer is a traumatic causation. I don't know how to best put it, but cancer travels on the vibration of unforgiveness, or call it grievance, an emotion that's associated with I have been done wrong and I'm hanging on to that. Again, I'm not trying to blame you for it, but the healing requires ownership. You decide that this is all yours and that you are the agent, that you have the agency to change the outcomes. And changing the outcomes requires dealing with those 4 categories: trauma, stagnation, malnutrition, and toxicity. All of that.
So, Martin, if I could add something to that, you talked about foods. You being whoever's watching this, you may eat a piece of bread and feel energized. I'll eat a piece of bread and I'll have a 2-hour nap because it makes my body very alkaline, which is relaxed, and then I just fall asleep, right? And the problem is and it can be an hour later, but the next day I could be in pain because of that slice of bread that I had today. Or 3 days from now, I could be in pain from that slice of bread. So one of the things that I think everybody really has to do is journal. And I hate the idea of journaling. But every day, we all have phones. Every phone has a calendar. I'm eating. Take a picture, stick the picture in your calendar and say, okay, I had a hot dog. I had a pizza. I had a beer. I had this. I had that, whatever it was. And then a couple hours later, how do you feel, right? Put your alarm clock on, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, this is interesting. The immediate, the pH balance, that happens within about 90 minutes, but could be as quick as 30. The allergic type of reaction, it's called, what do we call them? There are different lengths or different time scales on which these allergic reactions happen. Some are instant, they are anaphylactic. That's like people with shrimp allergy or peanut allergy. They start swelling and choking, and that's that. That's the quick one. There are some that are hours later. There are some that are days later, and there are some that are very slow, like weeks. And so, for example, gluten, if you are sensitive to gluten, it has about a 10-day clearing washout cycle. So if you do a Friday night pizza every Friday, you gluten yourself once a week, 7 days. You're never clear. You will never know what it feels like to not be on a gluten flare, for example.
yeah, if I can jump in for a second, Martin, a lot of the foods that we have available in North America are doing us a disservice. So Martin has a great story about, he eats bread and he's red and rashy and all the rest of it. He goes to Italy. He cannot resist the smell from the bakeries or France.
Well, actually,
right?
there was nothing else to be had, Scott.
Okay. So he eats some bread and there's nothing happening to him. Well, the bread and the wheat in Italy, the law is it has to be grown exactly the way the Romans grew it 2,000 years ago. So there's no extra gluten. There's no herbicides that are going on it. There's nothing going on it. So another friend of mine spent 3 weeks in Paris. I think he went to Italy too. And he got back to the United States and he said, I ate everything I wanted to eat in Italy and France, and I lost 10 pounds. I didn't do any extra exercise. I walked, but and then I come back and I feel great. And I come back to the United States and I start eating what I normally eat and I feel awful.
4 days
And
later, you're back in the flare.
that's right. And
Yeah.
you start blowing up again. So you really need to look at what you're eating. Organic, unprocessed. Seed oils are in the news that Martin and I see all the time. Forget about these vegetable oils. If they put it on the shelf for 6 months, it's motor oil. And they just want you to use that to fry your eggs and everything else. And I was thinking about it, Martin, like when I was growing up, my dad would fry eggs. And the way he did it was he put 5 slabs of or slices of bacon in, fried them up, and that was this nice little grease. And then he popped the eggs in that, and that's how he cooked it.
Yeah, pork lard as a grease.
Yeah. So there was none of this vegetable oil or any of this other stuff, which all becomes rancid, which is a form of poison. And if you do a search, they'll tell you it's not going to kill you or anything if you just have a little bit of it. But what if you have a little bit of it 3 times a day for 50 years? What does it do? Right.
Yeah.
So you really need to look at your food, look at what you're eating, and then tie that to, wow, like I haven't had a slice of bread in 2 weeks, and I had a slice of bread and I got a massive headache. My sister, she used to have a piece of chocolate and she'd get a migraine, couldn't see out of her eyes. And it was a combination of stress, getting up at 4 o'clock to go to swim meets and in the morning and trying to be a full-time university student. And it was just way too much for her. And she cut out the swimming, she slept in, and she can eat chocolate now. So you can change it.
Yeah. This is the histamine. Histamine is the signaling molecule for inflammation. And there are foods that are loaded with histamine. All aged foods, aged wine, aged cheese, aged meat. Those are the most famous ones. Fermented foods. And then there are foods that contain a lot of it.
Sorry, Martin, when you were talking about aged foods, is that high in histamines and should be avoided?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, like aged steak as opposed to fresh, not aged piece of meat. So people who have high level of inflammation, well, look at this. Histamine is a signaling molecule for arousal. So, for example, a sexual arousal is a histamine event. And you just rise, and then you have your peak experience, and then it goes away again. And there are histamine, antihistamine natural molecules in your body that will take it away. If you're on antihistamines, you will have a difficult time becoming sexually aroused. Or if you do, it won't feel like much. And likewise, people whose histamine level is constantly high, the peak experience isn't much of a peak. It's like, nothing much. Well, anyway, that's why you want to feed young girls with chocolate and strawberries, because you want to get their histamine level up, because that's the arousal bit. So that's that external input. What to do here? Okay, if you have high histamine, you end up with a migraine or with many other expressions of it. Histamine is a signaling molecule for the inflammation, and it could be expressed in your muscles, your joints, your brain, your nerves. Just about any body part can be the target. And of course, depending on your specific genetic makeup, the weakest link will be in different places. Like somebody will get a migraine, somebody else will get a back pain. It just varies. That's all there's to that, really.
So be aware of what you're taking, and you need to do what we always say, right? You need to move around. You need to be careful what you put in your mouth. You need to be careful what you drink. You need to relax. You need to get good sleep. And how do you do that?
Yeah.
Right.
And
Those are all problems.
yeah, Scott, before all this, you have to empty the bucket. You have to get rid of the toxic burden that you're carrying, and you have to resolve the traumatic experiences that you have collected. If you are not clearing it, you're going to continue to relive it. Like until you clear the toxic industrial toxins out of your body, they will forever be interfering with the normal expression. You cannot get there from here until you get it out of the way.
So, Martin, it's sort of like never having taken a bath for 10 years. We're going to be kind of stinky and putrid and all that sort of stuff. So we need to clean the inside of our bodies from all the toxins that have been accumulating. Yeah. One of the reasons people become fat is the fat protects our body from toxins.
Yeah.
So a lot
of that's a possibility, right? Yeah, you need to sequester the toxins somewhere, and your body is intelligent. It keeps it away from the organs, your heart, your liver, your kidneys. It has to put it somewhere where there's low circulation, and the low circulation tissue is the adipose, the fat, the white fat around your belly.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you have a plan, and we're going to continue to make these videos for you. We're going to be looking at the comments. Hopefully we can have some good conversations with you about things that you can do to improve. And right now we're just at the beginning of this process. We really appreciate you taking time to watch and listen and have an open mind. And I guess this would be a good time to say every Thursday, 2:30 Eastern in the afternoon, we're on Facebook and YouTube. YouTube would probably be better. Just search Life Enthusiast on YouTube. We'll put a link in the description, and join us. And then you can ask questions. The other thing you should know is Facebook and YouTube are financed by the pharmaceutical companies, advertising on them and that sort of thing. And so they're not appreciative of the knowledge that we want to share with you. And so some things we can't say. So after our live half hour with you on Thursdays, we do a switch over to Telegram, which is a far more free speech place where we can say what we really think, and we can answer your specific questions there as well. So I'll put the link to that in the description as well.
Right. So to close, there is a way out, and it is not in the pharmaceutical or in the hands of the pharmaceutical system. Doctors are trained in that very thing. They are prescribers. They will give you drugs to cover a symptom, but there are so many symptoms that they would have to give you multiple drugs, and they will many times these drugs have opposite effects. I have talked to people who were prescribed something to raise a certain function and suppress it at the same time. Like they were what do we call that word? There were drugs that were working against each other. Like that was just insane when I took it apart, what this person was on. Anyway, the situation is that the pharmaceutical approach is completely useless when it comes to a chronic inflammatory degenerative disease that's caused by metabolic dysregulation. Get that. No amount of chemicals can fix it.